All right. Welcome everyone to another edition of the day shifts portion of our Save Our Shifts campaign, sponsored in part today by New England Distilling. One of the products that they are doing right now and have been doing a long time is the Gunpowder Rye. It's a great Maryland style rye. They do a lot of wonderful things in this area, and they were kind of it's one of the early distillers in this area, so it's really great to have them involved with this whole product, this whole promotion that we're doing. And as far as the panel today, we are joined by Molly Jellison. She is the general manager out at Bath Brewing Company in Bath, Maine. And we also have Rob Roy, who is the bar manager at Primo up in Rockland, and Bob Herczeg. He's the bar manager at Sur Lie here in Portland. So we've got a nice little cross section of up and down the coast here today. Thank you all for joining. Today's topic, we're going to be going over some sustainability practices that we all implement or hopefully can maybe learn from each other and adopt in our own settings. It's really honestly great that this is sort of a thing that the bar industry is really starting to embrace, because I can definitely remember when I first started, we didn't even really think about it, unfortunately. This was years and years ago, but I guess I could start with Rob. What are some of the things that y'all are doing at Primo these days to kind of maybe curb the environmental impact?
Well, I was lucky enough to come into this restaurant a few years ago, and they've already got this amazing infrastructure, the full circle kitchen, they call it. So it definitely incorporates the bar, where most of our produce comes from the farm itself. We have animals, meaning ducks, pigs, chickens. Any sort of waste that we have gets sorted out, whether it be to the chickens, to the pigs, or out to compost. Very little is actual waste in the restaurant. So again, I was lucky enough to start with that base, and then I got to improve upon it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And so Primo up in Rockland, you basically, instead of a lot of restaurants are going with the farm to table, your farm literally is right next to your table. So it's gives you a good head start there. Bob, what are some of the things that you've kind of picked up along the way that have sort of shaped the way you're implementing these practices over at Sur Lie?
Well, concept that we go with both in the kitchen and at the bar is trying to minimize waste and trying to use items instead of throwing them away, as opposed to even just minimizing waste. So trying to repurpose things.
Mm-hmm.
So we use all of our scraps. Everything that's peeled, everything that we trim or garnishes, all the trimming gets saved. We use that for oleo. We use that for sherbets. Any old citrus, we add sugar to, make into a sherbet, make into a syrup. So we basically tried to not waste anything, or even to throw anything away, as opposed to even wasting. Anyway, I think we do a pretty good job of it. It does take a little while to get your rhythm down and understand how much you're going to need of certain things, as we all know. But yeah, that's kind of the philosophy there. It also comes from working at such a little bit smaller establishment. There's only 2 bartenders there, so we keep it as tight as we can, and really just have practices implemented that everybody just does.
That's great. I think one of the things, I'm not sure how long ago it was, but I believe I saw on Sur Lie, y'all were doing an orgeat made with avocado pits a while back, and that was just one of the things that I was like, where the hell did this come from? And just started Googling it, and as a result of seeing that on your menu, or maybe it was on Instagram, I don't remember how, but it was one of the things that for me personally kind of sent me down that road of using these things. I think it sent me to a Trash Tiki article.
That's where I got it from too. Yeah.
If anybody should put out a book on how to do these things, those guys are great, and I think they need they do a lot of great things. Have you ran into similar things, because you're working at a brew pub, Molly? How does, obviously you have a cocktail program there as well, but how did some of the things translate into operating a brew pub in that way?
So for us, one of the big things that we participate in is we donate all of our spent grain to a local pig farmer who
Oh, cool.
then turns that into feed. And, we do an exchange program with them where we do a meat exchange as well. I'm an old Maine kind of hippie when it comes to things like sustainability, and we participate in garbage to garden. So pretty much everything that we deal with here, as far as scraps and peels and spent fruit from cocktails, all go into that. I've been adamant since we opened about making sure that all of our takeout ware is compostable. So especially now that we're doing a lot of things to go, that's been a big push for us. We're doing the cocktails to go program, and I wanted to make sure we were doing those in glass jars. So we basically treat those like we treat our growlers, where you can, pay a little fee to get your original jar, and then every time you bring it back to have it refilled, you get a discount on your cocktails. So
Oh, wonderful. So almost like a redemption type program, but instead of
Exactly.
5 cents, you're getting alcohol.
Yeah, and as opposed to just throwing something in, recycling, it's a way to continue to use it in a way that's, productive and helpful.
Yeah, I think the reusable products are a really great thing, and I'm seeing a lot of really interesting stuff coming out of the whole cocktail to go program, and everybody's their own take on how to do that. And one of the stuff that I'm seeing is the reuse of products, like we were talking about, or Bob had mentioned, taking maybe some of the citrus juice that you've had and reusing it into some sort of syrup or sherbet. I think citrus stocks are a really great way to, you can cook things down, add a little bit of sugar to it. Are there some of the things as far as minimizing the waste of citrus in general, Rob? Do you guys use a lot of citrus? Every bar program kind of does, but are you looking at ways to maybe reduce that, or are you sort of just finding out new ways to stretch the citrus as a whole?
Well, first of all, we always try to only juice a certain par as much as we need. But before we juice, we do that classic thing of we peel the citrus, and maybe if there's excess, we make an oleosaccharum, which for those of you that don't know is basically oil sugar. You add sugar to it and pulls all the oils out, makes a beautiful balanced syrup. Sometimes we'll take extras and chop it down and cook it down basically into a sherbet as well. But yeah.
That's great. What some of the drinks that you're putting together, Bob, are you guys have you started up a cocktail to go program at all, or are you still kind of working on the model from before?
We're still working on it and putting it all together. We're trying to, if you guys know, maybe some of you don't know, we're doing like food baskets and like meal prep to go. Or meal kits to go, things like that. So we're trying to kind of put it into that. So we're still working on it. I think we're going to roll out with maybe some syrups and mixers first, and then move over to cocktails based on that. But what we're working with is to kind of not deal with the citrus as much, because obviously the spoilage issue is using more acids. So we're using citric and malic a fair bit in order to make mixers and syrups and things that can kind of be a little more shelf stable for someone at home versus the higher turnover that we would have were we to be open.
Yeah, I think also with the cocktails to go program is it's teaching a lot of us new tricks, like you said, use or maybe fortifying these things that we already knew but weren't doing as much of. I've definitely had that as well, where the stability of cocktails to go, it's a tricky thing, especially, if we're allowed to sell doubles now, maybe a lot of people aren't crushing a double as soon as they got home. So having something that they're maybe going to put in their fridge and enjoy, a couple hours down the line. Have you had success with the cocktails to go program up in Bath, Molly?
We have. It's been a huge revenue boost for us as we were trying to get as many sort of legs of the stool on the ground with this takeout program. And, we had discussed maybe getting rid of the program once we started doing in-house dining, but I think there's still so many people that are not quite ready to go out yet. So being able to provide them with that product that they're missing in a way that they're comfortable, it's continued to be successful for us.
That's great. It looks like you've got some stuff going around behind you there. So.
We do.
That's wonderful. That's great.
Yeah.
With the beer program and the grains, just I'm trying to wrap my head around. You mentioned the program where you're sending this off to a pig farmer. What's a normal load of grain that you're sending them? Just because I have no real
Sure.
work at a pub, so I'm
Right.
picture
So
that.
we have a 3.5 barrel system here, which is pretty small. Typically, you know, if you think of those large sort of clear storage totes that you would get at like a home goods store,
Yeah.
the big deep ones, we'll fill about 6 of those on any given batch of beer to donate off to the farms. And then we also there's a new bakery in town, Center Street Bakery, and we've been working with their bakers to use the spent grain as well for some of their products. So for like soft pretzels or for pizza dough and things like that, it's another way to reuse that without, you know, having as much loss.
I get, now that I have a picture of it, like that's a really wonderful program to think about it in that way, because everybody wins. And I think those, like almost like Rob said at Primo, where it's this closed circuit thing where but to be able to expand that, you know, on a more colloquial level where you're using businesses around the area, I think that's a really great way. Everybody kind of wins, certainly from a financial standpoint then, which I think is one of the ways that we kind of will push sustainability as far as an obvious thing. It's just makes financial sense. Are there, now with the stuff that you're doing at Primo, Rob, are there some of how does that work in the off season? Obviously you're not making as many drinks because you're a seasonal restaurant. Is that correct?
That is correct. We close from beginning of January till about the beginning of May, usually.
So do they just have you out in the field feeding the chickens at that point, or do you go and snowboard us somewhere?
I went out and skied in Utah all winter and last winter as well. Seasonal employee in that way. But we do have we have full-time farm employees that work throughout the year, taking care of our livestock and things like that, and our greenhouses.
Oh, that's wonderful. What are some of the things that you've got coming into season right now out of those greenhouses or out of the ground that you're looking forward to using when you guys reopen?
We have tons of herbs, herb gardens all over the place, which is beautiful. Like even during service, I can literally just walk outside and snip a couple things. Vegetables, you know, cucumbers are great for juicing, you know, carrots, all those things that you can juice and put into a drink. We try to do, and we have a great partnership with our farm staff and our kitchen staff that helps us do those things.
I think that's those partnerships with the farms and everything, those high yield things like cucumbers, watermelon this time, you know, is coming around. Do you have any things when you do reopen and get your program going, Bob, that you are kind of actively looking at implementing, maybe not even just sustainability wise, but what are you excited about using kind of once things return a little bit to a more normal state?
Yeah, I mean, pardon?
As far as like just new flavors and things like that you're maybe working on or scheming on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of that, particularly in terms of like any sort of produce or you know, agricultural stuff, depends on when we would reopen and what the season is and stuff here in particular. Last summer, I don't know if anybody knows Ian from Stone Cipher, who has an organic farm up in Bodenham. He came in as a joke with like a bushel, probably the same size as me, of ginger leaves and stalks. And so we ended up cooking that down and making a syrup out of it that was like really, really good. It just had a hint of ginger, but it was kind of, you know, had a very green and kind of grassy flavor to it. So we started using that for sodas and things like that. And everybody was pretty happy with that. So I think we're going to try to, depending obviously on when things happen, re-implement that and try to work that into something kind of refreshing and summery or fall flavored. And I don't know, I've just been really into leaves recently. I've been into working with curry leaves at home, kaffir leaves, lime leaves. So I don't know, that's kind of what I'm fooling with right now.
I'm say knowing Ian, even if he doesn't show up with the ginger leaves and stock, he's going to show up with some other random box of stuff and say, you can do this. We'll take a quick little moment and thank our sponsors at New England Distilling again. Gunpowder Rye. It is what I'm currently drinking in my coffee because I made the mistake of taking an afternoon nap today, and I'm regretting it. So here we are.
You look great. You look
yeah.
refreshed.
I'm just kind of gonna skate right on past the caffeine buzz and just start on the normal afternoon buzz. But just to reintroduce everybody to some of the new guests that we have watching at home, we've got Molly Jellison, the general manager of Bath Brewing Company, Rob Roy, the bar manager up at Primo, and Bob Herczeg from Sur Lie, who is the bar manager over there. And we're talking about sustainability in the bar and restaurant, bars and restaurants. One of the things that I think kind of came out a couple years ago that was sort of a unifying thing and really honestly brought around a ton of change was when straws became the devil. And one of the things that was interesting about that was there was a couple places maybe doing it here or there, and then almost collectively we all just said, fuck it, we're not using straws anymore unless they're biodegradable or paper. Are there some of these things that you see maybe like a new trend that's going to kind of help push the sustainability practice forward? Anybody wants to jump in? Yeah, Rob?
I see a lot of people actually coming into our restaurant bringing their own metal straws, those silver straws. We offer to actually keep them for them and clean them, especially our regulars. We clean them with brushes. We put them in their own proper cups, sometimes behind the bottles of the bar, so people can't even see them. And when they come in, we pull them right out, put them in the drink.
That's awesome. It almost reminds me of like a mug program at a brew pub or something like that.
Yeah, we could sell a straw program.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I think it's like, this is for your Tom Collins, and just throw it in. Yeah, that's. I think that's great. Have you had any trouble, Molly, with the sourcing of some of the stuff for your to-go program? You mentioned doing glass bottles and everything, and I think there was, or jars, I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, yep.
Have you run into any trouble sourcing that? I know a lot of restaurants basically switched to this model because we were finally allowed to, and then it was like, how are we going to do this properly? Were you having any issues in finding some of the product to get your cocktails in people's hands?
So far, we've done pretty well. We've actually, we're using, classic ball jars, the little quilted 8 and 12 ounce sealable ball jars, which everybody loves. And we've we were able to brand those. And then I've honestly been going to the local hardware stores to pick them up. So it's sort of a full circle thing. We get to support another local business and, but, for the most part, I know that some of our distributors are having some issues with getting some of the, especially the compostable products and things like that. And because so many businesses are pivoting towards the takeout model, be it for cocktails or for, food itself. But so far we haven't had too much of a problem with it. We've been pretty lucky.
Are you actually having people return the ball jars with the program? Yes. Because I feel like if somebody gave me a drink in a ball jar, I'm going to drink that out of the ball jar, because we're using the same thing at Black Cow, but I would also just be excited that I had another mason jar to store packs or whatever I put in them at my house.
Well, and that's sort of the fun of it too, is that if people are keeping them, they've paid their deposit on it, so they can really do whatever they want. But we've had a fair amount of people that will return them. There's actually a group of teachers that will regularly get a 4-pack of cocktails, and they keep just bringing back their 4-pack every time, and it's kind of fun for their little social distant happy hour.
Oh, that's wonderful. There's nothing better than the groups of teachers that come in for happy hour. I love them. At a few places that, like, we became that spot for teachers after school, and they're an interesting bunch almost every time because there's such a broad range of people and personalities kind of spread out amongst that. That's always fun. Rob, you kind of mentioned a couple different things when you were talking about the ginger leaves, as well as the, I mentioned it earlier with the avocado pit, orgeat. Have you come across any other unique things that maybe people aren't quite aware of that you might be able to mention? really stumbled?
Well, the first thing I would say, I would reiterate your suggestion. If anybody's interested in any of this stuff, check out Trash Tiki. Their website has just a ton of really great stuff. In terms of anything else exciting going on, I don't really know. I mean, everything's been kind of so shut down.
I know it's
I
tough
haven't-
sometimes.
What's that?
I was saying, yeah, it's kind of tough sometimes with thinking about what we would do if we could do it.
Yeah, I have been again fooling around with like a lot of mint and cucumber. Again, pushing that toward that, like selling things to the public, making syrups and shrubs with that. And I've been, I don't know, the combination of mint, cucumber, and rice wine vinegar in particular has been really fun. And so we've been playing around with that a bit, myself and my other bartender, Kevin.
That's cool. Are you using the rice wine is it a rice wine vinegar or an actual just straight up like sake type?
No, a vinegar, yeah. So we're making a shrub with it.
That's great. So you're using that as almost like an alternative to like the normal forms of acid, like the citrus that we're using?
Exactly, yep. So the idea would be you'd make yourself a Tom Collins or something like that at home with the syrup that you'd buy, as opposed to packaging a cocktail. So that way, what we're trying to do is kind of help people make stuff at home on their own instead of just buying something that they're just going to have. So when you would get it, there'll be instructions or suggestions of use this with rum or gin or this particular spirit, whether that be local or whatever may work, or just whatever people have in their house, and they can kind of play around with things at home.
Cool. This is and actually we just got a question from somebody watching at home, or maybe they're watching at work. I don't know. Hopefully they're doing this on their boss's dime. Oh wait, it's Pat McDonald. Never mind. He's watching at home. He wants to know if anybody is or has played around with taking some of the leftover product, from juicing things. If you're juicing, pineapples, say you're getting a lot of pulp. Is anybody playing around with fermenting that in some sort of tapache? Kind of falls in that maybe gray area as far as what the health code wants us to do. So we'll say maybe at home, are you fermenting any of this stuff naturally? Has anybody played around with these ideas?
I've thought about these ideas, but again, like you said, it's hard to do in a restaurant legally.
Yeah. I'll take this one. I have at home recently made some tapache. Actually, it's Pat's recipe that I completely stole from a contest we did a while ago. It is a great way, and these are practices that people can do at home. If you're making a bunch of pina coladas at home sometime this summer and you're playing around with pineapple and you decide to actually juice it instead of buying stuff out of a can, you can put that in a glass jar, put a rag on it with a little bit of water and some extra sugar, throw some cinnamon in it, and just let the skunk works go. It starts to bubble up, and it's a really fun way of dealing with some of that leftover waste. Rob, do you have a dog with you?
Yes, there is a dog. This is Bebo.
Hi, Bebo.
Hi, bud.
It's always fun to see dogs in the scene. Sorry, I'm just checking in on some of the other questions there. We're kind of getting to the end of the line here. So I guess we kind of end each episode with a little project or a segment that we call What's Good Here? And it's a hypothetical situation where maybe I'm in with my girlfriends at their bachelorette party and we've got our little penis straws and we're just wondering, Rob, what's good here? What should I have to drink at Primo?
Oh man, I don't know about a bachelorette party, but one cool thing we're doing is we're taking fat from Primo pigs and we're baking fat washing bourbon. So we call it the Year of the Pig. We created it last year because last year was the Year of the Pig. But it's essentially an old fashioned bacon fat wash. Maybe we're using some gunpowder rye. And a little bit of orange bitters and an allspice syrup. Will be stirred with a nice fresh orange peel espresso over the top.
That's
one
cool.
of our best sellers right now.
That's awesome. So maybe if you don't want to give away all your secrets, you want to give us a quick little rundown on fat washing with pig fat?
Sure. Had to play around with the ratios a little bit to make it not weird, but essentially you're warming the fat until it's in liquid form again. You pour it right into your whiskey. You shake that up and then throw it in the freezer overnight. That'll create a nice little fat cap on top. It freezes like butter would on top. You pour it through some cheesecloth, and then you're essentially ready to go with a nice infused whiskey.
Oh, that's awesome. Are you
Or
using
any
it
of
as,
Yeah.
Are you using something that's been smoked as well, or are you just rendering the fat straight off the belly?
I tried both. We ended up doing a little bit of mixture of the two. So it wasn't too porky, wasn't too smoky.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great.
Mhm.
Yeah, Molly, what's good here? What should I drink next time Suze and I come up to? We keep trying to catch
I
you, and then it's like
know.
we've missed you the last couple times. But what's good here? What should we have when we just miss you next time?
Well, right now our big selling cocktail is our Popham Sunset, which is based off of Popham right here, just down the coast, and it's a tequila-based drink with a little bit of Saint Germain and some Campari.
Mm-hmm.
But right now I'm dreaming of, we're starting to get some good tomatoes, and I'm starting to dream about our tomato water-based cocktail that actually uses all the scrap ends with some fennel pollen and gin.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that'll be coming around the corner here soon, because I'm ready for gin-based porch cocktails.
Oh, that's great. Can we get the Popham Sunset to go? Is that on your to-go program?
110%. It's our #1 seller.
Oh, killer. That's great. That's great. And we can end it up with Bob. What's good here? What are some of these mixers you're dreaming up for those baskets for us?
Well, just to go back to your original question of if it's a bachelorette party or any group of people, and getting everybody to like something, Southside shots are like, don't even tell them what it is. Just make it. It's light, it's refreshing, it's minty. If people don't like gin, they don't know it's gin. It's that's, and everyone loves it at the end. But for mixers, again, we've got a kind of a Fasciola style syrup with mango, passion fruit, a bunch of sherbet, different types, ready to go. And then if we're talking about something on the menu for whenever we open, the drink I'm really into right now is called Do You Like Spooky Stuff? And that's a combination of mezcal and tequila with black sesame orgeat, and some cold brew and lime, and a little bit of blue spruce ash on top. It's super tasty. Weird, dark tiki style.
Yeah, that the black sesame gives it a great kind of grayish hue too. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really creepy looking drink.
Yeah.
Like spooky looking drink.
I'm going to hit you with one quick little follow-up, because we've thrown around the word sherbet a couple times, and you want to give the people at home maybe a little rundown of what that is, because that's one of those terms that sometimes confuses people.
Yeah. So as Rob was saying earlier, an oleosaccharum is a sugar oil. So what you're doing with the sherbet is you're adding the juice into it. So you're getting that citrus peels. You're macerating it with sugar. You let all the oil come out of the peels, and then you fortify it with the juice. Mix it all together and strain off the peels. And so the high sugar content will allow the citrus to prevent from spoiling. It lasts for a very, very long time, particularly refrigerated, and it just adds a really intense depth to the drink. Our most popular drink on the menu is called the Ex-Lion Tamer. It's a bourbon drink, and it uses a grapefruit sherbet, and we really just blow through tons of that because it's just such it's so much different than just grapefruit juice and sugar mixed together. That the peels really add, those essential oils add a lot to the syrup.
Yeah, that's great. And again, it's just a way of it's like Butcher says, it's using the whole cow there. Like, you're getting everything you can out of the ingredients there. Thank you very much. Thank you, all three of you, Molly, Bob, and Rob. I appreciate you joining us. To everybody watching at home, thank you for watching. We'll be editing this down a little bit, and so if you only caught the tail end of it, we'll be posting this on our Facebook. Feel free to check out www.saveourshifts.com. If you're a bartender in Maine and want to get involved with this program, there's no reason to hide this. We're paying people to be on this, and that's sort of the reason that we're out here right now is we got a lot of great money from a lot of great sponsors to kind of offset the shittiness of this COVID situation. So if you're sitting at home or even if you're just going back to work and it's not quite what you were remembering it was, get a hold of us and let us know. You can be a member on one of our panels, or we're putting together plenty of great educational videos. You can send us an application for those as well. Thanks again to all of our panelists, and thank you very much to New England Distilling, Gunpowder Rye. Get yourself a bottle wherever fine spirits are sold. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.